Hi guys, today I thought I would bring to you a faux petrified palm wood stone. I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible so people at beginner stage are also able to do this. And I found that in past attempts at faux stones I've overcomplicated things. So hopefully I'm going to keep this fairly simple. And I've got myself some black Premo here, and this has been rolled out onto a number 3 on my Atlas 150, 0 being my thickest setting. You don't need a massive amount of clay. I mean, you can make as much of this as you want to, of course, but it's quite good because you can just stick to making one pendant at a time if you so wish. So I've got my black clay. I'm also going to be using some translucent. Now I'm using Cernit for this, but you can use any translucent clay, that's fine. And I've also got myself some Premo white clay as well. So they're the clays that you're going to need. I'm also going to be using a little bit of gold metallic paint, and I've just got the Deco Art gold metallic paint and some Deco Art silver metallic paint, some silver Pearlex, and some gold mica powder as well. And also I'm going to be using a little bit of silver embossing powder and silver metal leaf. And oh yeah, we're also going to need some liquid translucent clay as well, plus your standard tools, knives and rollers, things like that. Alright, so I'm just going to take the black clay and I'm just going to put that to one side. Oh, and you'll also need a mould of your choice. I've not decided which mould I'm going to use yet, probably this one maybe, but these are the moulds that I get from Yaroslav molds on Etsy. Alright, so I've got my stuff to one side for now because we're just going to focus on the translucent and the white clay. Now, I've practiced this and I've got it as close as I can to the actual stone, and I'm not making a massive amount, so I'm just going to take a little chunk of trans like this. I think that might be enough. I'll just take just another little slither like this just to be on the safe side, but you don't need a lot. It depends how much you want to make. So I've got myself a little chunk of the translucent, and I'm also going to need some white, but I'm talking a tiny piece of white, just really small like this. Okay, so I'm just going to take my translucent and I'm just going to chop it up. And yes, I am going the chippy choppy route with this. I'm not cutting the pieces too small, although I may go back and chop them at a later date. And then I'm just taking this white, and it is a small amount, and I'm cutting that into fairly small pieces. And I don't think I'm even going to need that much. I'm just going to take a little bit away. We're talking a smidge of white. Alright, and I'm just going to take the white and I'm just going to crumble it into the translucent, break up any bits that have clumped together. Like so. Just give it a quick tumble. I mean, there's going to be more tumbling anyway, so. And I'm just going to take a tiny little portion of that to one side and work with this larger portion here. Now, the picture that I'm kind of following, it's more silvery grey tones than it is gold, but there is a touch of gold in it. Now, of course, these stones vary, as do any other stones, and some have a more goldy look to them. So it all depends what you want to do. I'm going with the more silvery look. So I'm just going to get my silver paint, give it a shake. Oh, actually no, I don't need to separate it yet. I'm doing silver on all of the pieces. Derp. Never mind, don't separate them, keep them all together. I was thinking ahead of myself there. And then just give them a quick tumble in the paint, and you don't need a lot. You saw that I only put a little drizzle on there. I don't want it saturated in the paint. And I don't even care if it's not completely coated, but you know, aim for fairly coated pieces. Alright, I'm just going to get a piece of card and just pop that on there. And you can see it's very roughly chopped, like so. And I'm going to go and put that to one side and let it dry, and I'll be back once it's completely dry. Okay guys, so this is dry. I wouldn't say it was 100% dry, but it's dry enough. Just a few minutes just to, you know, so it's not soaking wet. And this is where I do want to separate a little bit from that pile, just a little bit. Okay, so I'm just removing that to one side for now. And then with the remainder pieces, I'm going to get my silver translucent clay. And I forgot to get my scoop. There it is. And I'm just going to take not even a full scoop, just a little, maybe just a little bit more, maybe like half a scoop. Obviously, I don't know what measuring tool you're going to be using, but it's not a lot of mica powder, just a little sprinkle. And I'm just going to make sure those pieces are nicely coated in that so it doesn't stick together as much. And I am going to chop some more. So I'm just going to break these up a little bit. I'm trying to keep them fairly angular. I don't want them rounded off particularly. So they kind of, I don't know, look more like shards. I don't want them looking round. I think I'm good with that. And then I'm just going to retumble in the mica powder so it's fairly coated and they're all, you know, not sticking together anymore. And then after that I'm going to take my silver embossing powder and I am going to put a fair amount in. This is a scoop that I'm using. Just give that a quick tumble. And then a little bit of the silver leaf, not too much, just little tiny shreds of it. So I'm just crumbling that into there. I don't want big flakes. Maybe just a tad more. Just crumbled into there, like so. Give it a bit of a mix. I've noticed that when I speak, if I've got a word that ends in S, I tend to prolong the S. Have you noticed that, guys? I perhaps don't say it when I say guys, but like, what did I just say? Give this a good mix. Not sure why I do that, but I have noticed it. Okay, so now we're moving on to the liquid Sculpey translucent, and it must be translucent, guys. And why you not come out? I think this is blocked a little bit. Let me just check what's going on. I don't know why that's not coming out. I'm just going to take the lid off and just pour some on. You don't need loads, just a little drizzle. That could be too much, but oh well. And just give that a quick coat in that. Actually, I probably should have waited before I put that on there, and I haven't put enough on, so that's probably a good thing. But either way, you definitely need some liquid Sculpey, but I'm just going to put that to one side for a second, and I will come back to that and add some more. So you could just put that to one side and then come back and add the translucent liquid Sculpey at that point. It doesn't make that much of a difference, I guess. Rambling again, guys, as usual. Alright, so then I've got this tiny little stack that I had left over, or pile. And I'm going to move my black clay out of the way because I keep splattering it with stuff. And same thing, I'm just going to cut this up into angular little shards, so to speak. And I'm not too concerned that it's not completely covered with the mica powders, because this is going to get some gold mica powder. Like I say, the stone that I'm working on, some of them have more gold in than other pieces, but I want to go more the silvery route. So I'm just adding a tiny amount of gold mica powder to that and just giving that a quick tumble. And breaking up any pieces that look a bit clumpy. Like that, and then I am just going to give it another quick chippy choppy, and then I'm going to join the two pieces together. So it wasn't actually necessary for me to add the liquid Sculpey at that point. I wasn't thinking again, but it doesn't matter. It's not like I added a great deal anyway. So once you've got all your little pieces together, some of them are a bit clumped. Then add your liquid translucent clay. And for some reason the lid's blocked, that's why I'm pouring out of that straight from the bottle. And then just give it a good old coat. And get all messy. So I guess my tutorials have been a little bit more infrequent than usual. I'm going to try and get back on track now. I like to do at least 2 a week if I can. Last month wasn't a very good month for me, and I really didn't feel like doing it, but you know, it's a new month and it's almost spring. So I'm back on track, hopefully. I've got a few more ideas brewing. I just thought I'd start the month off with this one. So get all your pieces together and just form it into the usual little block of chippy choppy. You just want to make sure it's all nicely compressed into a little block. I'm trying to keep the block more rectangular than square, just so when I cut into it the slices are longer rather than squarer. Alright, but that's all there is to it there. So I'm just going to put that to one side for a second, clean up. So for those of you that are in my group, you'll know that I wrote a silly little rap yesterday. I don't know where these ideas come from. I just thought I'd write a little poem type thing about clay, specifically chippy choppy. And as I was writing it, I thought, this sounds more like a rap. I'm not going to read it out to you guys or anything, but it was kind of amusing, and people are asking me if me and hubby would actually perform it. We're thinking about it. I'm not going to put it on YouTube though, so if you're not in my group, sorry, you're not going to get to see it. I just like to keep things light-hearted, you know, it doesn't have to be serious. It's just a bit of fun. And if it helps people, you know, if it helps people to smile or laugh, then I feel like I've done a good thing. So I'm going to keep on being fun like that. I'm sure I'll think of other things to do. I'm just talking, guys, while I'm cleaning up. And I'm just going to, I've got my black clay, but I'm just going to quickly roll it through the machine again because it got a little dirty because I kept splattering it with embossing powder and mica powder. So I'm just cleaning it up a little bit. It doesn't matter if there's a few specks running through it. And on that note, what I was going to say as well, in some of the stone, there will be little flecks of gold or blue running through the black, and in some of them it's more prominent, in others not so prominent, and in some it's just black. So if you wanted to add a few little splatterings of colour through your black clay, you could. I'm not going to, I'm just going to keep it sheer black. But having said that, some of the mica powder or embossing powder has landed on there, but it doesn't matter. It kind of adds to it, I guess. Anyway, so I've re-rolled my black because it looked a bit dirty, and I'm just going to go back to my little block that I already formed, and I'm just going to take quite thin slices. Now at this point it just looks like your standard chippy choppy, but I'm just going to cut them into slices and place them together. Sorry, I've gone off camera a little bit. Try and keep it down here. I'm not being overly tidy about it. It's no biggie, and I'm not even going to use all of it. And this is what's good about this. You can make a small amount like this and just make 1 or 2 pendants, or you could do a whole big veneer of it and make as many pendants or earrings as you'd like. I've already got about 7 of these with practicing and whatnot, so I didn't want to make any more. Oh dear. Alright, so I'm just going to push all those slices together like so. Make sure they're all nicely stuck together. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to run it through the pasta machine to stretch it out. Okay, so I'm just going to go over to my pasta machine and I'm going to take these down to a number 2 to start with, 0 being my thickest setting, and I'm going to see what that looks like, and that's what that looks like on a number 2. I want it to be a little bit more spread out than that, so I'm going to take it down to a number 3. And this clay is extremely sticky. Alright, so that's on a number 3. I think we're good on a number 3. And I'm just going to squish it around a little bit and just distort it a little bit. I don't want it to be perfect chippy choppy pieces, if that makes sense. Oh my gosh, it's very sticky. Very sticky. And I think more so because I added the liquid clay. So, but anyway, it's fine. So I'm just kind of pushing it around a little bit, just distorting those individual pieces. Whoops. So it kind of looks like this. Now what I'm going to do, once I've wiped my hands down a little bit, is just get my black clay and I'm going to pick this up, and I don't care if it breaks, and I'm just going to start tearing pieces off. And I don't care that there's little gaps in it either. That all adds to it. I want it to be kind of a raggedy look, if you know what I mean. I'm just going to break little pieces off and just start to lay it onto the black clay, and I'm going to stretch it out here and there, and I'm going to mush it. So while we started out as a chippy choppy, it's not really going to look like your typical chippy choppy piece. I'm just going to break that bit off, I think. Now, you're not covering the whole piece. You want to keep some of the black clay showing. You're just having this on part of the piece. And just with this tiny amount of veneer, you're going to be able to get several pendants out of it. So trust me guys, you really don't need to make a lot of that, because you roll it out so thin, it goes a long way. I'm trying to avoid any pieces that look overly stripy like this piece. I don't really want it to be stripy, so I'm just doing this. Alright, let me think. And even that was probably too much, but it's fine. So that's all I'm using, and I've still got some left over, and I've still got some of the block left over as well, so you can make more out of that tiny amount of clay. Okay, let me just wipe this down, and I'm going to get another clean wipe. Just quickly wipe my blade off. Get another clean wipe and some rubbing alcohol. I'm just going to wipe this black clay down a little bit. It's got a bit dirty. Like I say, some of the stones have like little flecks of blue or gold running through it. I don't want to do that. You can if you want to. I'm just keeping it black. Oh my goodness me, I am a sticky mess. I've got liquid clay oozing out everywhere because I took the lid off. I don't know whether to, yeah, I think I'm going to go with this mould actually, guys. But again, your choice. You don't even have to use a mould, you could use a cutter if you wanted to. And I'm just going to get some scrap clay, not clay, card, and I'm going to burnish this onto there so it becomes nice and flush. And while you're doing that, you're going to be stretching it a little bit more, and that's kind of what you want. So when you feel that it's nice and flush on the black clay, just have a quick check. Actually, before I go any further with that, I'm just going to do one more little thing. I'm just going to take the edges and just fan it out a little bit, just by using a ball tool, just to fan out those very edges. It just adds a little something to it, I think. Nothing much, just little gentle strokes, just to kind of smudge it onto the black clay, and it just gives it a little bit of a feathered look. Like so. Just get rid of any bits that I don't want to be pushed into the black clay. Just get some more rubbing alcohol. That's the only thing with this, it does tend to dirty the clay that you're working on, but not to worry. Okay, so I'm just going to take my scrap card again, and I'm just going to continue to burnish. Like so. Remove that, and that's pretty much it, other than to put it into a mould. So bearing in mind that I want some of the black to show, there's probably too much of this, but what I've found is really nice is if some of this actually goes to the back of the stone, so it kind of wraps itself around the stone. So let's just imagine that I'm going to put my mould here to ensure that I've got some of the black showing. This is going to go around the back of the stone. so it's all good. So I'm just going to cut myself a piece, and you've got all this black left. So again, you've got some black, you've still got some of the choppy, so you could make another one if you wanted to, or do whatever you want with it. Okay, I'm just going to lift this up, and I'm going to stuff it into my mould. Now I want to be sure that I've got a decent amount of that black showing on the front side, and I'm just going to fold this over and just push it into the mould. And I'm bringing some of that from the front round to the back, so it looks like a stone all the way around. So I'm trying to get it as level as I can so I don't have to slice any off, because I don't want to slice any of that away now. So you do have to be a little bit careful how much clay you stuff into the mould, because if it starts to overflow from the mould, you're going to have to cut it away, and I don't want to cut that away. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to roll it so it's nice and flat, and then if I do need to cut any away, I'll be cutting it away from this side. Just push that in there. And I am just going to take a little bit of the bulk away from this side. Okay. And I always like to make sure that it's nice and smooth on the back. As nice and as clean and smooth as you can possibly get it, so you're not wasting your time with sanding and whatnot. I'm undecided whether to sand or resin this at the moment though, so we'll see. I mean, let me just look at my picture. It is quite a shiny stone, I'll be honest with you. It is quite shiny. Maybe resin would actually look good. You know what, I'm going to make this, I'm going to bake it, and I think I'm going to go and sand it through all the grits, but I have got several other pieces that I made, so I will resin one of them and show you, and then that way you can decide whether you would like to resin it or sand it and buff it. Then the choice is yours then, isn't it? Okay, I think that's clean enough. I'm just going to get myself a clean piece of card, just give it a little burnish, help dry off that alcohol a little bit, just so it's nice and smooth on the back. And I think that's good. Alright, so I'm just going to take this out of its mould, put it on my card, give it a little smooth, give it one last clean, and it's ready to go in the oven. And that is as simple as that, guys. I didn't want to make it any more complicated, partly because if I complicate things, it gets too much in my head and I'm like, ugh, and then I tend to screw it up. So yeah, simple is best, in my opinion. Don't have to always be complicated about things. Alright guys, so that's the piece. I'm going to go and bake it, and I'm going to go and bake it for about 45 minutes to an hour. That's just what I do. I like to bake things for a little bit longer than it recommends on the package. Now just one more thing before I go. If you are mixing Cernit and Premo together, as in this case, you need to bake your piece at the higher temperature. Cernit cures at 265, Premo cures at 275. I was a little bit worried about doing that, but I've done it over and over again and there's no issues. It seems that 10 degrees higher does not affect the Cernit. As for other clays, mixing other clays, I think you would need to do little tests because Fimo cures at a lot lower temperature than Premo, for example. So I haven't tried that, so I couldn't tell you. My only advice would be test it before you actually made a full piece out of it to see if the Fimo could withstand the higher heat or not. I'm just giving you examples of different clays. I'm just mixing Cernit and Premo here. You would have to try out different combinations of other clays if you were to do that. Alright guys, so I'm going to go and bake this. I'm going to sand it through all the grits. I do have a tutorial on how I sand my pieces, so I will leave a link to that if you want to see how I do it, and then I'll be back. Alright guys, I'm back and I've baked it. I've sanded it all through the grits and I've put a little bit of Renaissance wax on there and buffed it to this lovely sheen. There's a few little divots on the back, but you know what? It kind of adds to the realism of the stone, in my opinion. So that's the one that I did on camera, and that's the one that's been sanded and buffed all the way around, and you can see the edges are nice and shiny as well. And I love how it kind of, it's on the front but it's also on the back like that. Alright, so there you go, that's the first piece, and I just want to quickly show you a couple more that I did, but I resined these ones. And with this one I actually just rubbed a little bit of gold embossing powder onto the black, so it just gives it a little bit of a sparkle. I like it. I just think I prefer the one that I did today, but again, that's entirely up to you if you want to add that little bit of sparkle to it. They're both nice. There's that one. I didn't resin the backs of these yet, I just did the front just to show you, and there's another one just with the sheer black, the pure black, and just with a little bit of the chippy choppy veneer on there, and again that one is resined. So there's those. I prefer this one. And then I did another one in a different shape, again just black, no sparkly bits added to it, and I added quite a lot more of the veneer, and in this one there's a lot more white, which I don't prefer, which is why I went with this one today and just added a touch of white, but there you can see the difference. Okay, and these ones are both sanded and buffed. Alright guys, so there you go, that's today's tutorial. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you later. Bye.